Welcome back to Snetterton for the first ever race in the Lotus Cup UK Championship. The race leader, Mark Speller, has pitted in. The pit window is still open as he gets strapped back in, ready to rejoin the fray. This is the production class leader, Neil Livesey, who's taken over the cockpit from that man, Tom Bradshaw, out of the car and holding the fire extinguisher. As Speller fires up the 340R and rejoins the circuit, but he's now lower down the order because that is the new race leader, Simon Deacon. And Deacon electing to stay out until the very end of the pit window is giving him clear track at the moment, and he's able to put in a succession of quick laps as we go back down to the pits where Amy has found Tom Bradshaw.
Hi Tom, leader production. How's it going so far?
Yeah, it went really well. Good first stint, put Neil in a pretty decent position, and hopefully he can bang away some consistent times and bring it home. So yeah, I mean it was a good first stint, getting to know the circuit and the car, and yeah, I was happy with how it went.
How do you like the Snetterton racecourse?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I was a big fan of the old one, so I was a bit dubious coming here. I thought, you know, are they going to sort of make a mess of it? But no, it's a good layout. The infield section's really good. It's a good mixture of fast and slow corners, so it's still got its character. So yeah, it was good.
Oh dear, now this could be very dramatic. The pit window is still open. That's Stuart Plotneck in the 52 car, and Plotneck has come to a halt on the circuit. That could well trigger the safety car. Indeed it has. Out goes the safety car board. Now the drivers who haven't pitted in, don't forget this is a mandatory 3-minute pit stop. Well, with the safety car coming out, they're going to be lapping somewhere in the region of about 3 minutes behind that safety car. So whereas the drivers pitting in earlier are going to effectively lose a lap, whereas the drivers like Ken Savage here pitting a little bit later, they're not going to lose any time at all. They're going to see themselves jumping up the race order. This could dramatically turn the race on its head as Simon Atkinson pits in the production class, as does the race leader Simon Deacon. Now this could put him in a very, very strong position to take over at the head of the field and not be challenged again by Mark Speller. Pete Story, out of our sight, is another of the 211 drivers who stayed out late, and he has moved up the order as well. Yes, there's Pete Story as he rumbles out of the pit lane in his 211. Now this could play perfectly into his hands. So a very jumbled order here behind the safety car, because the safety car hasn't picked up the race leader, as some of the drivers towards the rear of the pack race round to pick up the safety car train as we go green once more here at Snetterton in the Lotus Cup UK, the first ever Lotus Cup UK race. And this late safety car intervention could really turn the race on its head. It's going to be a very dramatic conclusion. So the field all fanning out as they make their way up to riches. There's David Fenn, and there is Jamie Stanley, lights ablaze. Stanley, one of the drivers who's lost out, having pitted in very early. They're effectively a lap down the leader, so Jamie Stanley really has his work cut out. But Jamie is the sort of driver who rather relishes that challenge, so he charges through Montreal. As Neil Livesey also looking a little bit lively in his masking tape up car. There is Mark Speller, who is, I think he's just made his way past Simon Deacon. You can see Deacon in the 39 car immediately behind him, so Speller is under all sorts of pressure, whereas in the first phase of the race he built up a big lead. Now he is really being challenged, as is David Fenn, who gets demoted to position by Jamie Stanley as Stanley charges up the order. Well, back to the production battle, and James Knight, again a driver who's effectively lapped down. He was dicing with Ken Savage's. Ben Highland runs very wide. Highland loses a place as we're into the very closing stage of the race, and it's Simon Deacon who is going to come through and take the first Lotus Cup UK win. Second place is going to go to Pete Story. So Mark Speller overhauled in the very closing stages as Deacon takes the checkered flag and claims the victory. He'll be delighted with that. Lights ablaze from Pete Story as the marshals and crowd here at Snetterton applaud the drivers. We get the official classification with the win going to Simon Deacon, Pete Story second, Mark Speller third, Dennis van den Sarvel into fourth, and Ken Savage taking an excellent fifth in the production class. So the class orders: Simon Deacon winning the 211 class from Pete Story and Tom Chataway. The Exige Cup won by Dennis van den Sarvel, with Glenn Sheridan, Jamie Stanley recovering to second, and then David Sear rounding out the podium. The Open class was won by Mark Speller, small consolation for him. David and Rob Fenn taking second, and Vital Chahun a very strong drive for third. And the production class race won by Ken Savage from Simon Atkinson and Steve Quick. Thoroughly enjoyable race there to open up the 2011 Lotus Cup UK season. Simon Deacon in Parc Fermé receiving the plaudits of victory, as does Pete Story. The Yokohama Grid goals, a very welcome addition to the 2011 season, as indeed is the Arsino Water and Piper Haystick Champagne. So 3 very delighted drivers on the podium. It's been a tough hour's racing, but it's been a thoroughly enjoyable one.
Pitting late ended up doing quite well for you then, obviously.
I was quite lucky with the pit stop. We left it late. I was behind Tom Chataway, racing behind him. He came into the pits. That gave me a few clear laps to put my foot down and keep it clean and get some good laps in. I then came in just as the safety car was going to go out, but I managed to get out just before all the traffic came round, so I was a lap in front. And that really made it for me, really, some clean laps and keeping it clean. And then the restart afterwards was quite interesting, getting through all the back markers, so I really enjoyed it.
So Pete, you also pitted late. Tell me about your race.
It was great. It all just went really well. We had a strategy where we were just going to wait for a safety car in the pit window, and if there wasn't one, then leave it till the end. And luckily, we left it to the end, and there was one. Got past, I think, Tom in the pit stops, and then I was just behind the safety car on the way out, so I kind of managed to pull it through. I didn't have a clue that I was in second place when I was actually coming across, so fantastic result, really.
You usually race with Lotus Cup Europe. How is it in the UK for you?
Well, I enjoyed very much my weekend. It was a great preparation for the Lotus Cup Europe. I was supposed to be here for a shakedown, and I never imagined I could be on the podium, so it's very nice news. The race was great. It was like a 1 hour sprint. I never reduced my pace because there were always pilots around me, so I enjoyed it very much, and the car was running quite well, so I'm looking forward for the Lotus Cup Europe season.
So Mark, you got the class win.
Yeah.
It looked at one point like you could have got the overall win. What went wrong?
About 2 laps after the pit stop, the clutch went. So I could get gears by basically slamming it in. I didn't want to hurt the gearbox, so I just left it in 4th gear and went as quick as I could in 1 gear. So that was it, really.
From a windswept Snetterton, let's go stateside to Los Angeles and a favourite circuit of the late Paul Newman, Willow Springs.
K-Earth 101. 61 degrees right here at K-Earth 101. KRTH, Los Angeles.
Welcome to Willow Springs International Raceway. We're here for round 1 of the Lotus Cup USA Challenge.
Yeah, this track, because it's got 2 fairly high-speed right-hand sweepers, it does put a lot of wear on the left side tires. So you need to be careful about tire pressures as well as wear. Making sure you have the right camber. Some of the guys are even being somewhat esoteric in setting up their car with kind of a NASCAR setup, an oval car setup with more negative camber on the left side than on the right side to compensate for the fact that we do have these 2 relatively high-speed sweepers. One of them you go through at between 120 and 130. The other one is between 100 and 115 miles an hour. And they're fairly long right-hand sweepers.
The time attack format we're running here at Willow Springs is basically 1 warm-up lap, 2 timed hot laps, followed by a cool-down lap. And the 2 timed laps are obviously the laps that you're competing head-to-head against people in your class, the best time of which is the one that will go in versus your competitors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Willow Springs International Raceway. We are going to get started with the Lotus Cup USA time attack. You can see the fastest Lotuses on the track right now, and they're going to be vying for the fastest lap time today at this session.
Now these Lotuses don't have a ton of horsepower. They are all about lightweight in handling. A lot of these cars will range horsepower to the wheels about 150 all the way up to 250 horsepower. But with these Lotuses, it proves that you don't need a lot of horsepower to win. You need a great balanced car, and that's what these Lotuses are. They are well balanced. And especially with a day like today where there is a lot of headwind, aerodynamics will be playing a key role in helping these cars go around the track and putting out that fast lap time.
Well, we just finished the time attack session. Went really well. Track was a little cold. There's a lot of wind out here. It's about 15, 20 miles an hour. But it went well. Car handled really good. Came up the temperature quick, and we're positive. We're seated well for the racing today.
I'm driving a Lotus 211. Unfortunately, there's only 2 of us in the Lotus Cup USA. We don't quite have the numbers that they do have in Europe, as only about 20 211s were brought into the country in 2008, and a few have been sold in 2010.